sovereign wealth funds quietly steer the world's biggest decisions, and the hidden tactics they use are more powerful than you think. Stay with me to the very end, because number 1 is a twist nobody expects. Imagine a sovereign wealth fund quietly snapping up a foreign port, a high-speed rail line, or a sprawling renewable energy grid, all without the fanfare of a typical merger. These acquisitions serve a dual purpose. They secure stable, long-term cash flow for the fund while granting the home country strategic footholds in critical logistics corridors. Analysts note that such deals often bypass traditional bidding processes, leveraging diplomatic ties to smooth regulatory hurdles. The acquired assets then become bargaining chips in broader geopolitical negotiations, from trade agreements to security pacts. By embedding themselves in a nation's essential infrastructure, SWFs can subtly influence policy decisions that affect everything from tariff rates to environmental standards. This quiet expansion sets the stage for more overt forms of influence, which we'll explore next at Rank 9.
Consider how sovereign wealth funds funnel millions into think tanks and policy institutes, shaping the intellectual climate that guides legislators worldwide. By sponsoring research papers, hosting roundtables, and underwriting policy briefs, these funds plant ideas that align with their strategic interests, be it deregulation, energy policy, or trade liberalization. The subtlety lies in the credibility of the host institution. Policymakers often cite think tank studies as neutral evidence, unaware of the underlying financial patronage. Over time, a cascade of recommendations can steer legislation, international accords, and even central bank guidelines in directions favorable to the fund's home nation. This indirect lobbying creates a feedback loop where academic influence translates into real-world power. Up next, we'll uncover how some funds move beyond ideas to direct political financing at Rank 8.
Surprisingly, several sovereign wealth funds have been linked to discrete political financing channels that skirt traditional campaign donation limits. By routing money through shell companies, charitable foundations, or allied business conglomerates, they can support candidates or parties whose platforms align with their strategic goals, such as favorable trade terms or relaxed investment regulations. While the transactions often appear legitimate on paper, investigative reports suggest a pattern of coordinated contributions aimed at shaping legislative agendas. This financial backing can translate into policy concessions, preferential treatment in public procurement, or even diplomatic support during international disputes. The veil of anonymity makes it challenging for watchdogs to trace the origin, allowing the funds to wield political sway without overt acknowledgement. Next, we'll see how these financial muscles translate into energy policy dominance at Rank 7.
Behind many sovereign wealth portfolios lies a heavy concentration in global energy assets, oil majors, gas pipelines, and burgeoning renewable projects. By holding sizable equity stakes, SWFs can influence board decisions, production quotas, and pricing strategies that ripple through international markets. For instance, a fund's vote on a major oil company's expansion plan can affect global supply dynamics, indirectly shaping OPEC negotiations and even climate policy commitments. Moreover, these holdings grant the fund's home government informal access to energy security discussions, allowing it to push for favorable import-export terms or joint venture agreements. The strategic leverage extends beyond profits. It becomes a diplomatic lever in energy-dependent regions. Following this, we'll explore how SWFs embed themselves within global finance institutions at Rank 6.
Rarely do people realize that sovereign wealth funds often secure observer or voting seats in institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Through these positions, they can advocate for policy frameworks that favor large-scale capital flows, such as relaxed capital account regulations or development project financing that aligns with their investment priorities. Their presence also grants them early insight into upcoming lending programs, allowing preemptive positioning of assets to benefit from new funding streams. Occasionally, funds lobby for the inclusion of specific clauses in loan agreements, clauses that can dictate economic reforms, infrastructure priorities, or even governance standards in borrowing nations. This subtle yet potent influence helps shape the macroeconomic environment on a global scale. Coming up, We'll examine how SWFs are steering the world's climate agenda through green investments at rank 5.
When the world turned its attention to climate change, sovereign wealth funds seized the moment to become major players in green finance. By allocating billions to renewable energy projects, green bonds, and sustainable infrastructure funds, they not only chase long-term returns but also signal policy priorities to international bodies. Their sizable commitments can tip the scales for emerging markets seeking to meet climate target financing, effectively dictating the pace and scope of green transitions. Moreover, these funds often sit on advisory panels of climate-focused NGOs, feeding back strategic insights that shape global emissions agreements. The result is a feedback loop where financial muscle drives environmental policy, and policy, in turn, creates new investment opportunities. Next, we'll see how SWFs leverage their clout to secure diplomatic leverage through targeted bailouts at rank 4.
Even during economic crises, sovereign wealth funds can act as a nation's private rescue squad, offering emergency loans or equity injections to struggling allies. These bailouts are typically structured with favorable terms, low interest rates, extended maturities, or strategic concessions, granting the fund's home country a seat at the diplomatic table. In exchange, the beneficiary nation may align its foreign policy stance, support the fund's positions in international forums, or grant preferential access to natural resource contracts. Historical examples show that such financial lifelines often result in long-term political alignment, turning temporary economic relief into enduring geopolitical partnership. As we move closer to the top of our list, we'll uncover how coordinated SWF blocs amplify their influence in multilateral settings at rank 3.
Finally, a handful of sovereign wealth funds have formed informal coalitions to present a united front in bodies like the G20, OPEC, and various UN committees. By synchronizing their voting strategies and sharing intelligence, these blocs can sway resolutions on trade tariffs, investment standards, and even sanctions regimes. Their combined financial weight translates into political weight, allowing them to champion policies that protect their collective interests, such as market access guarantees or standardized reporting requirements. The coordination often occurs behind closed doors, with joint statements released only after consensus is reached. This collective bargaining power magnifies the impact of any single fund, turning individual influence into a formidable multilateral force. Up next, we'll delve into how SWFs shape sovereign debt negotiations at rank 2.
Now, sovereign wealth funds sit among the top holders of sovereign debt, giving them a decisive voice when nations restructure or refinance their obligations. By threatening to withhold large portions of a country's debt portfolio, or by offering favorable refinancing terms, they can pressure governments into adopting fiscal policies that align with the fund's strategic goals, such as austerity measures, privatization plans, or investment in sectors where the fund has stakes. Their involvement often accelerates negotiations, but it also embeds their home country's preferences into the debtor nation's economic roadmap. This leverage can reshape fiscal landscapes across continents, subtly steering macroeconomic policies from the shadows. The final rank reveals the ultimate trump card wielded by these financial behemoths.
At the pinnacle of sovereign wealth fund influence lies the ability to shape entire national budgets of other states through massive equity holdings and debt positions. When a fund controls a significant share of a country's key industries, be it mining, telecommunications, or banking, it can effectively dictate fiscal priorities by influencing revenue streams and budget allocations. Governments, aware of the fund's stake, may tailor spending on infrastructure, defense, or social programs to maintain favorable relations and ensure continued investment. In some documented cases, the prospect of capital flight or reduced dividend flows has prompted policy shifts ranging from tax reforms to changes in public service funding. This overarching power, often invisible to the public eye, demonstrates how financial assets can become the ultimate lever in international policy, eclipsing traditional diplomatic tools.
What a journey through the shadowy corridors of sovereign wealth power. From silent infrastructure purchases to climate finance leverage, we've uncovered how these state-run giants quietly rewrite the rules of international policy. If you enjoyed peeling back the curtain on these financial titans, hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss the next deep dive. New mind-blowing lists every week. Which of these 10 secrets surprised you most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing your perspectives. Thanks for watching, and until the next reveal, keep questioning the forces that shape our world.